Welcome to St. Louis County Library's virtual program, A Weed by Any Other Name, Native Landscaping for Food and Medicine, part of the Partners for Native Landscaping webinar series. I'm Cole Sawyer, the Adult Programming Coordinator for the St. Louis County Library. Before we begin our program, I wanted to bring your attention to a few helpful tips in case this is your first Zoom program. First of all, this is a webinar, which means that you should be able to see and hear us, but we cannot see or hear you. We will have the chat turned on during the program, so feel free to submit questions or comments as they occur to you. If your question isn't addressed right away, feel free to submit it again at the end of the presentation. We do have subtitles, so if you click the live transcript button at the bottom of your screen, you can turn them on, you can make them bigger or smaller, or you can turn them off. If you experience any difficulties with your connection, we recommend that you exit the program, move closer to your Wi-Fi router, and then click the link again to come right back. We are recording this, so it will be available on our YouTube page within a few days. You'll receive an email with the link when it's posted. Remember, you do not need to have a library card or even be a resident of St. Louis County to attend our virtual programs. So if you enjoyed yourself or learned something new today, please tell your family and friends. Feel free to check out a full list of our upcoming programs at slcl.org/events. Our next topic in the Partners for Native Landscaping series will be hillside gardening, strategies for designing, installing, and maintaining native gardens on slopes. Join us on Wednesday, March 25th at 2:00 p.m. In this webinar, learn new strategies for gardening on a hillside, learn new strategies to make gardening on a hillside not only possible, but attractive and long-lasting. I also hope that you will join us for the Native Plant Advocacy Panel, How to Be a Native Plant Champion, on Wednesday, March 18th from 5:30 to 7:45 p.m. at the Clark Family Branch. Learn how to advocate for native plants in your community through gardening best practices and local policy making. Dan Pearson of the St. Louis Audubon, Missouri Botanical Gardens, Green Gene Ponzi, and a panel of local leaders will share practical guidance and resources. I'm going to put the links to these upcoming programs in the chat along with the virtual sign-in sheet. Please take a moment to fill it out during or after the presentation. Now, I would like to introduce you to today's presenters, Luke and Linda Black Elk, are food sovereignty activists and teachers of traditional plant use, gardening, food preservation, and foraging. They spend their time collecting and preparing traditional foods and medicines for Indigenous peoples and communities in North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, and beyond. They also get their 3 sons involved in this amazing work so that they may learn about the importance of feeding themselves and their communities with food and medicine that nourishes and heals mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you both for being with us this morning, Luke and Linda, and feel free to take it away from here.
Thank you, Cole.
Thank you, Cole. Hi, everyone. We are going to share our screen here. Because we have a limited amount of time today, so we want to really get into it pretty quickly. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll have a little bit of time toward the end to answer some questions. If there are any really important questions as we go through, Cole will let us know and ask them as we go along. So, hi, everybody. I'm Linda Black Elk. Super honored to be here with you all today. I'm the current director of education at NATIFS, NATIFS. That's the acronym for North American Traditional Indigenous Food Systems here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Hi, everybody. I'm Luke Black Elk, and I also work for Natives as the Food Sovereignty Coordinator.
So it's awesome to be with you all today. We'll just get right into it. We wanted to talk about both native and I will say maybe a couple of plants that you might not think of as native that you will often find in your gardens, in your flower beds, in your lawn, all kinds of places. A lot of these plants have been labeled as weeds, but we have very strong opinions about that word and feel like pretty much every plant that people label as a weed actually has some edible or medicinal value. So we wanted to talk to you about some of our most favorites. The first, and this is absolutely, I don't know, my husband says that I call every plant my favorite, and that might be true.
You might hear that term a couple times during this presentation.
And this is one of them. This is yarrow, otherwise known as Achillea millefolium. So if you think about it, who is it named after?
Right? Achilles.
Achilles, right? The dude who's mentioned all over the Iliad, right? Why is it called Achillea? Well, if you look at that book, the Iliad, yarrow is actually mentioned in there as a plant that he used to treat the wounds of the soldiers who were fighting alongside him. And like a wild fact is that yarrow is actually an important food and medicine on almost every continent except Antarctica. It's used all over the world. And probably that's probably one of the reasons it's one of my favorites. It's also absolutely beautiful. The native yarrow here in North America is white, but it does come in a bunch of different colors of the rainbow that are cultivars of the original. And those are equally beautiful, perhaps not equally as medicinal, but they are certainly beautiful and add a lot of great color to your garden. A lot of people don't realize that yarrow has a powerful blood coagulant when it's used externally. And so one of the ways that I grew up using yarrow was on cuts and scrapes and wounds. And you can certainly take the leaves, like if you look down in the bottom left-hand corner, that's a picture of a yarrow leaf. And you can mash those up and put them directly onto a bug bite, a mosquito bite, onto a cut or a scrape, and it will almost instantly stop the bleeding. But not only is yarrow amazing when used externally, but during the COVID pandemic, we noticed that a lot of people were having trouble breathing, right? Some of you all may have had that trouble. What we found is that COVID damages the lining of the blood vessels in the lungs, and that makes your lungs feel full, and it makes your lungs, it makes it feel like you can't breathe. And as someone who is asthmatic, I know that feeling well and how much it can bother you. Yarrow tea is a wonderful way to heal blood vessels. And so it makes a wonderful tea. You can use it, as we said, as a poultice, and you can also eat it.
You can eat it. So we will actually take the whole top of the plant and dry it. So that's the flower, the leaves, the stems, and then grind up as much of it as we can, sift out the powder, and actually use the powder as a seasoning. Uh, you can take the leaves and there's actually a picture here of the leaves being pressed into some focaccia bread, which is wonderful. And we've actually had a number of people who take the whole flower and put it in a batter and fry it as like a little hush puppy dumpling type thing.
Yeah, it's pretty good like that. Gyro has a very distinctive flavor and aroma. If you look at that photo on the top left-hand corner with the penne pasta, that's actually a photo from our friend Alan Bergo, Bergo. He's also known as the Forager Chef, and he makes a gorgeous like pasta sauce with just a little bit of olive oil, garlic, red chili flakes, and yarrow leaf powder in pasta, and it's mwah, fantastic. So, and I did want to say, we try to put some of the indigenous names up for you all to learn. I love the Lakota name because it's very practical. It is
Taopi Pejuta, which means wound medicine.
which is such a great name for this again because it's used to stop bleeding. The Ojibwe name is maybe a little more descriptive visually, Ajitamuazo, which means squirrel tail. And if you've ever seen yarrow in person, you know that the leaf looks like a bushy squirrel's tail. So that's perfect.
Hope we don't have any Osage relatives here because I'm not really going to try to pronounce that one. That looks pretty difficult for me.
Well, yeah, maybe next time. Okay, we also wanted to talk about using your native alliums as ornamentals in your garden. These are perennial, so they come back year after year. They just keep on providing their gifts for us. They are beautiful and have all different colors and styles of inflorescence or flower. And they are delicious and nutritious, right? We often think of onions and garlic as being food, right? Culinary plants. But I think that's because we forget sometimes that all of the alliums, all of the onions and garlic plants are beautiful medicine. They help to lower blood pressure. They help to clear up congestion, right? Which, if you ever have cut an onion, what happens, right? Your eyes start to water, your nose starts to run, and that's because the compounds in onions and garlic will actually help to thin up the gunk, for lack of a better term, that's in your sinuses and your lungs in particular. And again, help to lower blood pressure, help to stabilize blood sugar. Onions and garlic are super good for the liver. So if you know someone who has liver issues, diminished liver function, if you know someone who is on the way to like fatty liver disease, or cirrhosis, incorporating more garlic and onions into their diet every day is so important. And as you can see here, they're really beautiful. I know that Missouri is tends to be the as far west as ramps go, Allium trichocum, right there in the center. But I know friends who are actually growing ramps in parts of St. Louis County, and they have gorgeous foliage and flowers, as you can see there in the center.
So we can say a couple of these names in indigenous languages. So for Lakota, it's pshin, which is just the word for onion. It doesn't really have any other meaning besides that.
Yep, and the Ojibwe word, fun fact.
Yeah, you might actually kind of recognize this one as Jagaga. But if you kind of say it in a little bit different accent, you might recognize it as Chicago, because Chicago is actually named after the massive ramp fields that used to exist there.
Yep. So Chicago, Jigagawaj. It's a nice little piece of trivia. Chicago is named after the Ojibwe word for wild onions. Okay.
We do have a
Another.
quick question, if
Oh
you
yeah,
wouldn't mind. Somebody did ask when ramp season is. Is it spring or fall?
great
It is
question.
spring. It is very definitely a spring plant. It's the first allium that pops up in the spring when it's in your area. And I don't know about your all's area, but we're probably late April here for when ramps start coming up.
Yeah. And so they're definitely a spring plant. We do have friends who actually mark their ramp. Their ramps are also known as wild leeks, and they mark their wild leek and ramp areas, and they will actually dig up the bulbs sustainably, of course, later in the season. Um, so that's up to you. We love to get them earlier in the year and to be sustainable because ramps have become so popularized, they're being over harvested in a lot of areas. So we always encourage people to just take the leaves. We dry the leaves to make onion powder.
Yep. We make pesto out of it. We make onion kimchi with the leaves.
So
There's
good.
so much you can do, just
Yep.
like any onion.
Yep. But simple answer, spring is a great time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Um, well, another one of my favorites is cutleaf coneflower, very tall plant. And I want to point out because this one is so beautiful, it adds gorgeous height to any garden or flower bed. We have a double flowering variety, which you can see on the right hand side. So notice how the left is what it looks like in the wild. The on the right hand side is a double flowering cultivar. Okay. Now, let me just say both the cultivar and the wild type are medicinal and edible. Okay. So you can eat the one that grows in your yard. The one on the right, the double flowering variety, ours will get like 8 feet tall. and then it'll start to tip over. So sometimes it's nice if you have some support at the bottom of the plant, like some fencing or something like that around the bottom, just so they don't lay over flat, unless that doesn't bother you. But what we normally, we don't actually call this plant cutleaf coneflower. We call it by the Cherokee name of Sochan. Sochan is an amazing, delicious, edible and medicinal green. You can eat it like you would mustard greens or collard greens. We love to fry or saute some Sochan leaves up with a little bit of bacon. So good. They have sort of a strong, almost pungent flavor that's like a mild cilantro mixed in with a little bit of like nettle green, mustard green, spinach flavor as well. Really fantastic. The texture is amazing, and they're beautiful to serve as well. Any thoughts on this one?
No, it's one of my favorite plants too. In Lakota, you call it Zicha Tanka Siha, which is just referring to it's kind of like a sunflower, has the same shape as a sunflower.
And a turkey foot. The leaf looks like three lobes, and so it kind of looks like the foot of a turkey. And it's also medicinal. So my mother was Korean and Mongolian, and both of those cultures have used Sochan forever because it's so high in antioxidants. It's used to shrink tumors and to treat various types of cancer. So wonderful high antioxidant plant that is delicious and nutritious as well.
Couple people are asking if if other native varieties of coneflowers are also edible. Like, is are purple coneflowers, are they natives?
So now, of course, Echinacea or Echinacea angustifolia or purpurea, those are the other coneflowers, and those are, of course, in a different genus, right? So they have a different scientific name. Um,
That's why the scientific names are super important, right? So this is a species that's edible, whereas the other coneflower species are or not only medicinal, but more medicinal.
Mostly medicinal, yeah. The thing about eating purple cone flower, for example, is that if you've ever tried it before, it will numb your mouth. It actually has the same compound as what's in real Szechuan peppercorns, and so it will numb your mouth. But we have used echinacea or purple coneflower petals on salads and things like that, just because they don't have a very strong flavor. So sort of edible, but mostly medicinal. Great question. Thank you. Next, we wanted to talk about the lamiums or the mint family. And we could have a presentation just about mints and that this whole family and how wonderful it is to landscape with this family. They are perennial. They spread by themselves, right? So they'll if you plant one, the one in the middle is bee balm, otherwise known as monarda,
Horse mint,
otherwise known as
bergamot.
wild bergamot. And so that one in the middle, one year, my husband and I actually transplanted from the prairie just a small bundle of it, about this big. By the second year, it was this big. By the fifth year, we had a patch of Monarda this big. So it will spread on its own, as most of them will. They will reseed and then they spread rhizonomously by their
Lateral roots.
lateral root systems. Um, Absolutely beautiful, come in such a variety of colors, flower shapes, inflorescence shapes, um, aromas, right? And especially these days, I mean, it's not the native species, but you have like chocolate mint and orange mint and all of those.
Apple cinnamon mint.
Apple cinnamon mint, and those are delicious and beautiful. But we really love the native mint species known as Mentha arvensis. It's sort of a native, very important culturally peppermint that you see there on the left. And it's absolutely beautiful. And I will tell you, if you have kind of a wet, shady area in your yard, or like a low-lying area, and you've been wondering about something beautiful and hardy and useful that you can fill that area in with, Mentha arvensis is fantastic because it loves to have its feet wet and it loves shade, and it will thrive. And yet it is an amazing pollinator plant. And it's delicious. It is so delicious. You can use it just like you would any of the other peppermints and spearmints. The Monarda that we were talking about. Oh, by the way, all of the mint family, as someone, as I was saying earlier, who is asthmatic, the entire mint family is amazing for strengthening your lungs to help fight off an asthma attack. And so I try to drink some sort of mint tea every day just to keep my lungs nice and clear and strong. Mint and mint oil is also amazing if you're someone who suffers from things like migraines. You can use mint, peppermint in particular oil, or you can eat mint in order to help stave off a migraine. Um,
They're also really great for digestion. So making a tea from mint is good for that. From the hyssop, the anise hyssop makes a really great tea for indigestion.
Anise hyssop, which is on the right-hand side, amazing for an upset tummy and indigestion. It's all of these mints, again, amazing pollinator plants as well, great for native bee species. Bee balm is actually called bee balm because it helps to destroy fungus and mites that impact bee colonies. So that's a wonderful one to have around. The Monarda in the middle is also probably pretty much one of the most antimicrobial plants that I know of. Monarda tea is fantastic for treating things like strep throat. It's wonderful for infections, lung infections. You can actually crush up Monarda and use it externally on boils and infected bites and wounds. It's absolutely fantastic.
I think this is the only one I'd caution being careful with as a tea, just because it can negatively impact the good bacteria within your stomach.
Yeah, it's so powerful that it will actually destroy even your good gut microbiome. Um, if you, that said, if you are someone who suffers from something like H. pylori, there's a lot of good research about the use of Monarda in treating H. pylori as well.
But the other two mints are even safe for like giving to babies.
Yes. Yeah, we make an anise hyssop syrup, like a cough syrup. Anise hyssop is the agastache funiculum that you see there on the right side of your screen, and we make a beautiful syrup that's even safe for little kids, and great for coughs and colds and things like that. Okay, one of my favorites. This is hard. Shush. Okay, they're all my favorites. Okay, but this is one of my favorite ones to talk about because I think there's so much misinformation out there about milkweed.
The maligned milkweed.
Much maligned milkweed. It is so beautiful. And if you have milkweed growing in your garden, you know that, right? It's absolutely gorgeous. And the fact that it brings all those beautiful butterflies to your yard is another upside. A lot of people don't realize, I mean, how many of you all were taught that milkweed was toxic or that it got super bitter or toxic as it got older? We actually grew up, both of us, in cultures that eat milkweed. And I grew up eating all parts of the milkweed. So we love to get, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, so and it's almost this time of year again. So for maybe even for you all down there, milkweed might be popping up in little tiny shoots. And so the first shoots of spring are really amazing as like a sautéed dish. You can put them in soup, you can store them for later. Um,
I like to eat them like asparagus, just blanching young milkweed shoots rather quickly in boiling water, taking them out, putting them in an ice bath, and just serving them next to a steak, maybe with like a garlic aioli or something like that. Chef's kiss. So good.
and I know as like native plant people, we've been taught like don't touch the don't touch the milkweed because that's for the butterflies. One of the great things is that even if you cut down those baby shoots, two stems will pop up from there.
Yeah.
And so you'll have two flowering stalks after that.
Yes, it's milkweed is actually such a sustainable food source because like Luke said, I don't know if you all can see my arrow, but if you were to cut this milkweed plant right off, I would say about 4 or 5 inches down, um, uh, it will actually react to that by producing two flowering stems. It will branch off, which is fantastic. And another really important fact about that is that monarch butterflies in particular do not like to lay their eggs on old milkweed. So if you notice, you will almost never see monarch and other butterfly eggs on the lower parts of the plant. They love to lay their eggs on the newer growth, right? So when you take the top of the milkweed for food, you can actually you're creating more habitat for monarchs to lay their eggs later. So great fact there. So along with eating the young shoots, we wait a while, and then they will start producing clusters of green flower buds. That's probably Luke's favorite vegetable to get from milkweed. Well, it's probably your favorite vegetable in general. We will harvest the young, tender tops of the milkweed that have those still green flower clusters.
You can actually see it in the picture of soup there on the right.
Oh yeah. So that's actually a picture, I think, of a maybe of like a macaroni soup or something that Luke made. Maybe you, oh, okay. And those are the green flower buds, and they are so good. They have the texture of broccoli, but the flavor maybe of a mild green pepper, and they are just so good. We also love to make syrups and cordials out of the opened pink blossoms. Our friend Alexis Nelson, she's also known as Black Forager. She has a beautiful video on how to make a milkweed flower cordial. So if you wanted to look that up on TikTok, you can
Or Instagram.
or Instagram. But these flowers are so fragrant. Milkweed blossom aroma is one of my favorite smells in the world. And so I highly recommend preserving that smell and flavor by making those into a gorgeous syrup. Um, then, after the flowers are gone,
We always grab a few of the seed pods. When the seed pods are really small, they're only about an inch big, and they look like little cones, little like alien eggs, actually, is what I kind of refer to them as. You can cook them whole. We like to batter them and fry them, or you can throw them directly into a soup. You always have to cook milkweed. It's always very important that you cook it. But the pods are amazing. When they get a little bit bigger and the seeds start to mature a little bit, you can actually scoop the seeds out and we like to stuff them with cheese,
and
or
jalapeno.
jalapeno or flavor.
Yeah.
Uh, Luke and Linda, I don't know if you can hear me. It looks like your feed cut out a little bit. Um, Let me give it maybe a couple seconds to see if you guys come back. Okay, I don't see you. So um if you are at home, if you could let me know in the chat if you also are having trouble seeing and hearing right now. Okay, yeah. Okay. Oh, I see you're back visually, but I don't hear you.
Hi, sorry we were muted. Oh my gosh.
I don't know what happened. It's okay. But we don't have your PowerPoint anymore, so
Okay. I will reshare my screen. Sorry, everybody.
that's
I'm not
okay.
sure what happened.
It
Um,
happens.
okay.
Thank
Um,
you.
Do you know
no,
when it cut out, Cole, what we were talking about?
Um, I let me look up. You were mentioning the seed pods, frying them with cheese and jalapenos.
Yep.
so
Okay, so you didn't miss much.
Yeah. So we do you can see a picture of the breaded and fried seed pods on the left-hand side. They're absolutely delicious and they're pretty nutritious. I mean, I know something breaded and fried probably isn't a health food, but they're just milkweed is such an
We can
amazing.
pretend though. We can
Yeah.
pretend.
And they're super full of fiber as well, but just a wonderful vegetable. Milkweed is also perennial, right? So we're talking about a perennial vegetable that you can just get so much from and still support your local pollinators, right? So even though it might be frustrating to have milkweed popping up everywhere, next time think of it a little differently.
You can also use the sap, the white sap that comes out of the milkweed as a to get rid of warts.
Yeah, it's actually a beautiful medicine. And you can apply that sap regularly for about a week and it will get rid of warts. So, all right. Um, next. This is something that I grew up with. These are goldenrod shoots. So and just by the way, any species of goldenrod, you can eat the young leaves and that are toward the top of the plant and the goldenrod shoots, which you can see there in the center. You want to harvest them when they're still tender, or you can harvest from the very top of the plant, from the most tender parts of the plant before it flowers, if you're using it for food. It is a fantastic green vegetable, has a slight bitter flavor, which we all need to be consuming more bitter greens. Very important for our liver health. One of the reasons why we have such issues in this country and in the world right now with the liver, so much liver illnesses, is because we are not consuming any bitter compounds. Bitter compounds are super important for our liver health. They help to cleanse the liver and help with liver function. So, goldenrod is wonderful medicine for the liver, and it's yummy. Those are actually two pictures again from our friend Alan Burgo, the forager chef. We talked to him about goldenrod shoots, and now he uses them pretty regularly, and they make a fantastic vegetable. The thing is, goldenrod is also um, probably one of my top three plants for upper respiratory infections. Um, goldenrod tea, goldenrod syrup, goldenrod tincture of the flowers in particular is so amazing for upper respiratory issues. So, this time of year when everyone has like viral illnesses, some goldenrod tea, goldenrod flower tea would really go a long way toward helping with that. And it's an amazing pollinator plant and it's beautiful. Any other?
Just a fun fact about this one is that this was my people's guide to knowing when corn would be ready. So when the goldenrod blossoms and is in full bloom is also the time that we pick our corn.
Awesome. Oh gosh, one of my favorites. No. So this particular plant is Verbena hastata, but really any of the verbenas, and we're not talking about lemon verbena here, right? That's again, lemon verbena is a totally different plant, and it's not even related to Verbena hastata and Verbena stricta, which are gorgeous. The English name is blue vervain. Blue vervain is absolutely beautiful, and it's one of our most important medicines. Um, uh, Blue vervain, how do I say it? The way that we use it medicinally.
Oh, the way that we use this medicinally is like if people are depressed, are feeling down,
Anxious.
when you get the winter blues, they call it sometimes too, things like that. It's a great way to pick people up and get them back into having, fixing mood situations.
Yes, actually that is something that I say often is like when I'm feeling off or out of balance, I can drink blue vervain tea and it just helps to bring me back to the center, right? I just feel like I can handle my day. Great, great fact about blue vervain tea as well is it's safe even for kids. So we work with a lot of children who are ADD, ADHD,
On the spectrum.
on the spectrum, and blue vervain tea. It's just so calming and centering. It helps them pay attention in class, helps them deal with some of the more difficult symptoms of those issues. So, and it's just so simple, right? You can just take the whole top of the plant, flowers, stems, and leaves, and make them into a tea. It's about 2 teaspoons per cup of water. And you let it steep for about 10 minutes, and it's a wonderful tea. Little bit bitter, so if you need to add a little bit of honey, especially to get a young person to drink it, that's totally fine. Okay. Blue vervain, beautiful and medicinal. Okay. So it was very important to me to keep bellflower in there. We also call this plant harebell. The one on the left is the native species, okay? And that is very important. I grew up eating the roots of bellflower. If you've ever had Korean food, we make like little side dishes called banchan. And the roots of this bellflower species are delicious. We wanted to point out the one on the right, which is Campanula rapunculoides and is a highly invasive, even in St. Louis County, highly invasive plant. It is also a campanula, so it's related to the native Campanula americana, but it's one that everyone is trying to sort of control and get out of their gardens. So what we recommend is that you harvest all of your invasive Campanula bellflower and eat it. Eat the roots, eat the flowers, you can even eat the leaves, and then plant as much Campanula americana as you can because it's a beautiful wonderful pollinator plant as well. And getting the native one in there will actually help to keep the invasive species out of your garden. Okay. If you have questions on that one, let us know. Go ahead.
This is a wonderful one called wood sorrel. Uh, Linda says every plant's her favorite. This is actually one of my favorite. It has a wonderful lemony uh, bite to it. There's a lot of acidic acid in it. Um, Beautiful little flowers. You can actually buy a wonderful purple cultivar where the leaves are much larger than the wild variety, the native variety, but it looks beautiful and it still tastes very lemony. We love to put this into stews, as a side for like fish dishes, just directly into salads. It adds a wonderful, just sharp taste to everything.
And there's a lot of oxalis species that are not native. But one of the things that we wanted to demonstrate to you is that even the non-native ones, if you are going to pick them out of your yard or your garden, you don't have to spray for them, right? You can harvest them and eat them, and that will help to control them as well. So, we know that we're concentrating on native plants today, but we wanted to make sure you don't have to harvest your wood sorrel and compost it. You don't have to spray it. You can harvest it and eat it. And then replace it with one of the native species. By the way, one of my favorite ways to eat this, I think it might be in the photo in the top right, is by chopping it up and putting it into guacamole. So good. Oh, and it's also very high in vitamin C, which helps to boost your immune system. We're going to be talking about some other weedier plants in a little bit. So I want to make sure that we don't run out of time. Okay. All right.
Oh, this is one of Linda's favorites.
Do you think this is one of my favorites? Um, actually, it is. So as an ethnobotanist, I get asked all the time, like, what's your favorite plant? Or sometimes I'll get asked, like, okay, if you could only take one plant to the moon with you, what would it be? And overwhelmingly, I always choose stinging nettles. Now, if you have ever run into nettles in a literal sense, you know that they are appropriately named stinging nettles, right? Stinging nettles do certainly sting. But
But that is also a medicine.
yeah,
So,
yeah, we were always taught to harvest nettles barehanded, to let them sting you.
and it's to prevent arthritis. And it's actually a wonderful medicine for any sort of inflammation, which is what arthritis is. We'll actually use the sting of the plant to help alleviate those symptoms. So, like if you, like my uncle had arthritis in his knees, and he would take, it's a weird term, whip yourself with the plants. Actually, in English it sounds weird, and in the other language, urtication. If you ever heard of that, it sounds much better, but it's the same process. You just sort of slap the plant against the inflamed area, and it'll actually help relieve the inflammation and loosen the joints. Makes a wonderful food too. So we eat this plant as the little shoots that come up in the spring, which should be popping up right now for you all because they're about this big for us up here. And blanch those really quickly in boiling water and then put them in an ice bath. And we'll make all sorts of things from the. I make a wonderful pesto from that. We'll actually make green noodles. So we'll make pasta and add
Nettle puree.
a nettle puree to that, and it'll actually create green noodles, which is really great. So if you're like working with your kids or something like that, making green pasta is always really fun.
Yeah, it's like having the vegetable in the noodle, which is like our kids love it. And it's delicious. And nettles are super nutrient dense. They're very high in protein. So if you know someone who is vegan or vegetarian, nettles are a fantastic vegetable to incorporate into their diet. Or like if you have a kid who just wants buttered noodles all the time and isn't getting enough green vegetables or protein, you can add this into your noodle recipe, the puree into your noodle recipe, and you'll up the nutrients for them very much. Also, when you are eating nettles, you're still getting a lot of those anti-inflammatory compounds. So nettles are great to eat for people who are asthmatic, right? Because so much illness is caused by inflammation. So asthma is inflammation of the lungs. Arthritis is inflammation of your joints. Um, uh, um,
Depression can be from inflammation of brain matter.
of brain tissues.
Yeah.
Yeah. So such a wonderful plant to incorporate into your everyday life.
And any drying, cooking, crushing of the plant takes away the stinging, so you're don't have to worry about it stinging on the way down or anything like that. Topically, so like if you take dry nettles, you can put them into like oil and make soap from them. Just use the oil on your skin as like a wonderful sort of lotion, but it's very good for dry skin.
Very good for dry skin. We make nettle salve all the time, and it's essential in our home.
We do only use the very small plants when they first come up, or the very top of the plant, like maybe the first three leaves on the top of the plant. The plant will build up silica in its system, and so some of the older leaves, the larger leaves, will be full of silica, and that can be hard on your
Kidneys.
kidneys.
Oh, and just one other, I always feel like we're doing infomercials for plants because I'm like, but wait, there's more. Um, so nettles, the older stems, once the plant is mature, are amazing for cordage and rope. So if you're someone who's interested in textiles from plants, there's actually a documentary called The Nettle Dress, that's very interesting, but you can make all kinds of rope and cordage and fabric from nettle fibers as well. Okay. We are getting low on time, so I'm going to kind of speed it up here. All violets are edible. And they're wonderful for skin. They're wonderful for digestion. They're very cooling. Throwing raw, or you can eat violets raw or cooked. And so putting violet leaves into your salad is actually wonderful for digestion because it's so moisturizing. It helps to calm heartburn. So, and of course, beautiful. In the bottom left photo, you can see some candied violet flowers. Aren't those gorgeous? You can use them on cakes and, cupcakes and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, wonderful and delicious as well. Oh, you can make violet syrup as well. I wanted to make sure that we touched on rose, before we let you all go. So another pro tip, just like all violets are edible, all roses, as long as they're true roses in the Rosa genus, are edible. Okay. Your ornamental varieties, your cultivars, as long as they are not sprayed, they are edible and delicious. Rose petals, to me, have the flavor of the way a rose smells. So if you love the way a rose smells, try the petals. They're so good. You can make rose petal jelly, rose petal jam. You can infuse them as a tincture. And the petals are incredible. Oh, they're wonderful in tea as well. And they're very high in vitamin C. So vitamin C helps to boost your immune system so that you can fight off illness. So rose petals are wonderful for that. But I think probably our favorite part are rose hips, which you see there on the right.
You have to be careful with rose hips because you can't eat the whole rose hip. You can only eat the outside skin. Inside are hairy little seeds, which can mess up your tummy if you eat them. Um, a lot of times, if you're buying these online, you can find them seeded and sifted, which is really awesome. But you can just take them out of your garden and use them like that. If you put them in a filtered tea bag, you don't have to worry about that as much.
Yeah, the seeds are covered in tiny sharp hairs. And there's actually kind of a fun Lakota story, which we won't tell the whole thing, but I will tell you if you look up, um, let's see, pardon my English here, itchy butt berries. Rose hips are often labeled as that, because if you eat too many of those stinging or those sharp hairs, it will cause irritation later, if you know what I mean. Okay. Um, Rose hips, super high in vitamin C. Three little tiny rose hips have more vitamin C than a grapefruit. So they're wonderful for that. You can use them in tea. Luke makes rosehip orange muffins and scones. So good. And again, rosehips can be used in jelly and jams as well. And to me, they taste like a cross between like a cranberry and an apple. So very good. Um, I wanted to get to dandelions as well. We might have to cut this short because I want a little bit of time for questions. But there is a common misconception that dandelions are not native. Numerous taxonomists, botanists, Ethnobotanists and ethnobiologists have come to realize that dandelions are indeed native to North America. There are indigenous names for dandelion that predate colonization. What we think has happened is that European species of dandelions have crossed with native dandelions to create what we now know as the common lawn dandelion, right? That lawn weed. Instead of spraying the dandelions in your yard, please harvest them. The entire plant is edible and medicinal and absolutely delicious. What are a couple of our favorite ways to eat it?
So you can make a coffee substitute out of the root, just eating the greens in salad. The long stems, if you let them get really long, the flower stems actually make a great spaghetti alternative. And the
Carbohydrate free.
and the flowers you can make. There's fritters on the picture there, but you can also make wine from the and tea from the flowers.
And even put them into your favorite zucchini bread recipes. Um,
Ooh.
we actually take out half of the zucchini in our zucchini bread and replace it with dandelion petals. It makes like a green and yellow bread. It's beautiful and it gives it the taste of honey. So it's wonderful to use in that way. But the entire dandelion is edible and it's super medicinal. Numerous clinical trials have shown that dandelion helps to lower and stabilize blood sugar. So if you are diabetic, dandelions in your diet every day is a great recommendation. There's also a wonderful study called the dandelion root study, in which they use dandelion root to treat various types of cancer successfully, you all. Absolutely successfully. So, incorporating dandelion, powdered dandelion root into a tea for anyone you know who might be suffering from various types of cancer can be very helpful. And it's even been shown to help them through chemotherapy and radiation. Okay, I think we're gonna have to pretty much stop. I wanted to talk about purslane and all its varieties because they're all edible. Some of you all probably grow rock roses in your garden. Like another one, delicious, and also purslane, super high in omega-3 fatty acids, which is pretty rare for a plant. But yes, so that's where we're going to, and just so we have a few minutes for any questions that you all might have.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us today. If you at home have a question, please go ahead and put it in the chat now. I'm also going to share a link to our survey if you wouldn't mind filling that out. But yeah, let's get into it. Uh, Somebody is asking what you use to clean plants before using them, especially maybe those that are foraged.
Water.
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 Okay.
Sometimes we'll use a little bit of vinegar in the water, especially if like it's a really Luke is originally from South Dakota and it can get very dusty there in the summer when it's dry. And so if our plants are very dusty, we will wash our plants in water with a little bit of vinegar. We do not we are not super obsessed with making sure the stuff we get at the grocery store um
Even
is
the organic stuff.
even the organic stuff in our opinion is probably much less clean than the stuff that we harvest.
If you're worried about things like pesticides and things like that, a lot of times if you're harvesting from like a park or something like that, if you talk to the maintenance people or the people who run it, they'll let you know if they spray anything like that around, which is what we like to do.
Yeah.
Very cool. Um, several people are asking if you're aware of any books that have more information about using native plants for medicinal purposes. Anything that you can plug here? Or... Yeah.
That's the toughest part is the ones for medicinal uses. But we love Held by the Land by Dr. Lee Joseph, Leigh Joseph. She is an Indigenous ethnobotanist and author, and her book is absolutely beautiful. And she also has a kids version of Held by the Land. So that's a nice one. It's there's not a ton of plants in there, but the information is fantastic.
Thank you. I'll have to see if the library has that, and if not, we'll try to make a purchase. Um, a couple people have asked throughout the program if any of the plants you mentioned today would do well as container plants, if maybe they don't have a garden or they're not able to go out and forage.
Absolutely. And dandelions will grow anywhere. Let me just say that, as will purslane. But we have actually grown milkweed in containers. We actually have it in containers right now. And if you have a balcony, say in the city, and you feel completely cut off from green spaces, planting milkweed in some balcony containers is a great way to bring butterflies and things like that onto your porch, even in the city. It's absolutely beautiful, and it will bring those pollinators in.
Thank you. Um, so if somebody is looking to forage maybe for the first time, what kind of tips do you have for them, especially if you're allowed to forage in an area? And then also, what kind of resources do you use to make sure that you're not accidentally picking something that might be harmful?
So one thing that I will say is make sure you know your local laws. Every state is different, and within those states, even those rules can vary from county to county. Um, One of the things that this whole thing is about native landscaping. Plant these plants in your yard is just the biggest because like how clean they are, whether they've been sprayed, exactly the background and what's happened to them. And if you've planted them, you can also be very sure about their identification. So that's like something that I would say is really important. Any tips that you have?
No, just if it's in a park, contact whoever runs the park, and they'll be able to explain that to you.
If you're even remotely unsure about the identification, don't eat it. Especially we do not like to recommend to beginning foragers. We always tell them do not harvest any member of the carrot family because you want to make sure you know the differences between wild carrot and poison hemlock, right? That can be a very dangerous mistake. However, Luke and I are big believers that foraging is a super important act of love for yourself, love for your family, and love for the land. And so we do highly recommend, even if you just start with dandelions, right? Everyone knows what a dandelion looks like. It can be a great starting point for any new forager.
Thank you. I am reading questions as I'm listening to you, so I'm sorry if you did just say this, but are there any foraging groups in the area that you're aware of? Or are there other ways to get involved with experts like yourself?
Feel free at any time to contact Luke and I on social media. We're both on Facebook, we're both on Instagram. And you can find us there. We're happy to answer questions there. And happy to put you in touch with foragers and people who want to build a relationship with native plants in your area.
Yeah. Okay. We've got maybe time for one or two more questions. I'm gonna scroll through and see if I can find like a really good one.
We
Um,
see a quick question quickly. We saw a question about how to tell the difference between the native bellflower and the invasive one. The invasive one has a flower that looks almost like a cup with like a star off the top. The native bellflower is much less cup-like. The native bellflower also has a very prominent stigma, um, you know, uh, part of the plant. So whereas the invasive one does not have that. So you can go back. I'll send this PowerPoint out to you if you want, but look up the native Campanula americana and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Thank you. I also saw earlier lots of people were asking if you've ever planted mint that you can get at like a big box store in your yard, you know that it's like impossible to get rid of. Are native mints also as aggressive as some of the more readily available and easy to purchase options?
Yes and no. In the right conditions, they will just take off. If they get a little bit out of sorts, they tend to die back though.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely not as aggressive as the cultivars.
Cool. Thank you. And maybe they're a good option for container gardening too.
Exactly. Very good option.
We've actually seen them in hydroponic systems.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. That would be really cool. Well, we are just about out of time. I did share the survey in the chat. If you haven't filled that out yet, please go ahead and do that now. Luke and Linda, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us today. I hope to see you again soon as part of the Partners for Native Landscaping series or just as library presenters. So thank you both so much
Thank
and
you, Paul. Thank
enjoyed.
you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Toksha.
Bye.